when I went to the, I was invited to go with the life insurance cashiers and office managers, and I did that, and I became national president.
You remember what year or decade that was?
Well, it probably was like 68. I came to Phoenix in 68 and set up a chapter here.
Mm.
I set up all kinds of chapters there.
Was that before or after you militantly went and sat at restaurants? Did they know you were an activist?
Even the FBI knew that.
Even the FBI knew that?
Yes, they did. They were on my case. Well, see, but one of the things that I noticed, the legal system is anything but legal in its actions.
So you're saying it's not just, nor is it legal.
Well, okay, well, let me give you a for instance.
Okay.
My husband worked for the Navy for 34 years. But during the time he was working for the Navy, a guy showed up one day, and just as it happened, they gave this guy the desk right beside my husband's.
Yeah.
And so he became very, very friendly with my husband. And so one day he said, my husband had an outside employment thing where he installed radios in cars. Because at that time your car
Kind of a side job.
Yeah, your car didn't come with a radio. So he worked for a Chevrolet company.
Was that in the 40s or the 50s?
Oh, I can't tell you.
Uh-huh.
Anyway,
Whenever the cars did not come with radios.
That's a long time.
Well, at that time in California, at North Island, they were putting radios in planes. And radios in planes that were going to fly for the Navy. They had to install them one at a time. Well, anyway, this guy he knew that my husband was installing car radios. So he said to my husband, "See these tools? Navy has worlds of these. You need these to do the installing that you're doing on cars. Take this home." So my husband thanked him and put the tools in his toolbox and left them there. But the guy didn't know he left them there.
He left him in his toolbox at work? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Right.
The guy came over one day with a radio
Yes.
that he wanted to install.
Ah.
Yeah, what did you do with those tools that I gave you? You know what he was trying to do? Get him to steal tools.
Incriminate him.
Yes, yeah. Okay, that's one.
Yeah, he took those tools.
He would have been incarcerated. Okay. One night I had been out playing cards.
He was being incriminated, not incarcerated.
He would have been incarcerated.
Yes, he would have been, wouldn't he? That's what the
That's
the
what
other
I
guy,
said.
probably a white guy,
Oh, yes, he was.
of course, was trying
Okay,
to
and
make
you know
happen.
what? Left the next day. Okay. I was coming home from playing cards this one night, and I was stopped by the police.
You were?
Yeah. And so I said, well, what did I do wrong? The guy said, oh, nothing. Where have you been?
He was just stopping people indiscriminately, he
Yes.
allowed.
Where have you been?
Ah.
And I said, oh, I was out playing cards. He said, oh, really? He said, I was wondering, why don't I come by your house? Yeah. Because he considered that I was a prostitute. And I said, well, you could, but my husband would probably object.
I would think so. No more of that.
No. He went on. And I said, these people are out looking for people to break the law.
So what do you think about that, Mom? In Indiana, do you guys run into anything like that? I mean, when you were growing up?
Well, we see, we were in, San Diego was very much a military town.
Yes.
Very much a military town?
Oh, yes.
You're right.
Okay, and it was...
And you know, so many different towns reacted differently to different people,
Oh, yes.
you
Right.
know, over the years. So
Right.
it's interesting to talk about people's experiences and what,
Right.
you know, what they've done.
Yeah,
And,
when we were talking the other day, I mean, I had no idea that a lot of this stuff went on.
Well, me either.
well, it was foreign to us, even, you know, living
Well,
in,
it would have been.
for Japan and stuff. I mean,
Okay,
we
but it would have been.
had discriminated. Really, we didn't.
Well,
in
okay,
Japan.
well, let me tell you.
The
In San
military people, we
Diego,
didn't. We didn't have
in
problems.
San Diego, Japanese people had to live in the black community. They could not live wherever they wanted to live.
Isn't that amazing? This
And,
day
and
age,
when we had the war with Japan, they took every bit of that property, gave them no money for it, ever. Never gave them money for it. When they turned them loose, gave them nothing. And that was as wrong as could be. I don't care if we were in war with Japan.
Margaret, do you feel like those American Japanese people should be reimbursed for the properties that they lost?
Of course, for the properties that were taken.
Yes.
Because they had, they
Had
owned,
proper ownership to
they
it.
owned their property.
Right. And the U.S. just took it away from them.
Well, not only that, but those people were as law-abiding as you could get. They really were. The people who settled, the Japanese people who settled in the United States were no threat to America relative to the Japanese war. They came over here for their own sake. They
Just
were
like
not-
every immigrant
No,
has.
they were not like Chinese who sent the money home. Chinese sent the money home, and there were others who sent the money home, but not Japanese. And we knew that from the start. They really were wonderful people, because this office where I worked for 25 years, there were Japanese people who lived across the street from my office, and they were as cordial and as personable as you would ever want to see people be.
Right.
But you never saw anything of them. Now, there was a Chinese guy. I'll tell you about this one. There was a Chinese guy who had a food store, and it was on a corner.
Was it a vegetable stand or a real grocery
No,
store?
it was a real grocery store. And there was a black couple who were they were buying a place, and it was a 2-story place, and their bedrooms were upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
So they had bought a sound system,
Uh-huh.
a new sound system. And it just so happened that some friends of theirs were going to work this early morning, and they saw 2 guys carrying this sound system into this Chinese store. So when they got to work, they called their friends and said, "Did you lose your sound system?" And these people said, "Oh no, we didn't lose it." He said, so this guy said, "Well, go downstairs and look, because I saw a sound system go into this market that looked just like yours."
Oh my goodness.
They went downstairs, and sure enough, the front door
Ajar.
was, well, slightly ajar.
They'd
And
been
the sound
robbed.
system
They'd been burglared.
was gone.
Right.
And so they called the police, and sure enough, this guy had a whole back of his store full of stolen merchandise.
Oh my goodness.
He went directly to prison, and of course, the store immediately closed.
Right.
End of story, huh?
End of story. Right. But yeah, I mean, there really was a lot going on in San Diego. A lot.